All right, welcome back to B-Side Banter. This is episode 9. I'm here with Ty. You probably maybe have seen him on TikTok under Ty the Creator. Following you for a while. I really love that you're kind of in the rock, metal, alt genre, and super excited to have you on the pod and just kind of talk about that. Talk about some of the stuff that I don't necessarily listen to a whole lot. But yeah, I'm going to kind of kick it to you. I'd love to just have you just talk a little bit about what you do on TikTok and social media, what kind of genres you prefer, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that, and thank you for that nice intro. Yeah, I started making TikToks probably 2.5 years ago at this point.
Mm,
Really, put my best foot forward for the first while. Was posting every day,
yeah.
doing song rankings, album rankings, just talking about stuff that I love, new
Mhm.
music, old music. Uh, and yeah, I amassed a small little group of people that like-minded music fans, and I don't know, I just love talking about music with other people in my circle, and being introduced to new music too that I've never heard before or never really gave a chance before. There's a bunch of albums or artists even that I can think of off the top of my head that I got introduced to through TikTok, and I don't know, it's just a really cool thing, and I'm happy to be here on this podcast. It's a really cool thing you're doing here, bringing other musical creators on, especially like you said, us having a little bit differing music tastes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. So yeah, like I said, I've been doing music rankings for a while, just talking about stuff. I am uh, more into rock and alternative. That's where my love for music kind of blossomed from when I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old, and I was
Mhm.
driving around with my parents, and they would play Sirius radio every day. It was always 90s alternative music. It was the Lithium station. I don't know if you ever
Nice.
had Sirius XM, but it was
Yeah.
channel 34, and I have such vivid memories of it. And that was like my first genre and time period of music that I really fell in love with. I still love that type of music, but it just blossomed from there. And I'd say in the last half decade, I'm 25. Since the time I was like probably 19 or 20 after I graduated high school, I really kind of opened up from just the rock and alternative type of thing to other type of genres that I never thought I would enjoy, such as like hip hop and such as pop and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's good to look just outside of one genre because I mean, there's amazing stuff. You could be satisfied forever just with one genre, but I mean, there's so many different worlds out there just to take part in and to yeah, just listen to. So I don't know. Music's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. That's why I started TikTok. So that's why.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is, yeah, it is. Genres are funny and how like you can kind of get entrenched in a genre and like that be all you want to listen to and listen to. But it's a really cool feeling when you kind of step out of that and try to explore and like expand that and finding things that you're like, wow, I actually like this. Like this is cool.
Exactly.
I didn't think that I would find that. Um yeah, I'm like looking here through you gave me like some of your favorite artists and favorite albums. And I'm curious because your 5 favorite artists, you've got The Cure, LCD Sound System, Sonic Youth, Led Zeppelin, and this might be embarrassing for me, but I don't really know who this is, Kiro Bonito. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is like, maybe I've been living under a rock and I should know who these people
No,
are, but
no,
I
it's fine. It's funny because the order I did the questions, I started with the top 10 favorite albums because we're gonna
mm,
talk about that in a little bit.
yeah,
And then I kind of tried to I do have two overlapping ones for my favorite albums and my favorite artists.
okay.
That being The Cure and why am I forgetting? Who's the second person I said on there? Why am I
LCD Sound
literally
System.
LCD Soundsystem, yeah,
Yeah.
The Cure and LCD Soundsystem I had in both my album and my artist list,
Mm,
but, outside of that, I kinda tried to include some people that just missed out on my album list,
mm,
Kiro
okay,
Bonito being one of those. They're, like, I don't wanna get this wrong, but I believe they are a, Korean pop duo. They're either Korean or
okay,
Japanese. I'm not 100% sure, and I don't wanna
okay.
get that wrong, but I think they're a Korean pop group, and they make this really cool blend of, like, electronic indie music that can be experimental at times, but is
Mm,
also, like, so earwormy and so catchy. I wake up in the morning with one of their songs stuck in my head maybe every other day. It's
mm.
and their front woman, Sarah Benito, she's incredible. She's featured with, another one of my favorite groups, 100 Gex. I literally almost put 100 Gex on
Oh,
my top 5 favorite
I
artists, but
didn't I
I
had
thought
no
people would
idea.
make fun of me if I did
Yeah.
that, but
There is this weird, like, I don't know, the people that love 100 gecs, like, love it. They're diehards, right? Like, they've got kind of an intense following, but for people that are kinda out on the outside looking in, yeah, it is like it's almost like if you really like them, it's kind of like a uh,
cultish.
yeah, or like it's like you're kind of like secret. Like you're like, "Yeah, I really like them, but, like, I kinda have to keep it a secret because people
Yeah.
might get mad at me," but, um,
I'm
yeah,
a
that's
huge Death Grips fan as well, and I feel like they
okay.
kinda get a similar rap to
That
100 Gex
yeah, yeah,
that, like, so
it is. Yeah, they're a little more intense. Like, that band like, the band itself is really intense, so I feel like people are more like, "Really? You can like that?" Like, I
that's how
whereas
I was at first. I
yeah.
vividly remember trying to listen to them when I was, like, 17 or 18 years old, like,
Mm,
senior in high school, and I had that opinion. I was like, "This is music?" I was, like, one of those
yeah,
people, and then I don't know, I came back to it a few years later, and it just I don't know, it hit me differently this time, and I felt like I was more open to it. At that
mm,
point, I, like, had indulged in a bunch of different type of music by that point and kinda opened up past just the stuff that I grew up listening to and was open to these I don't know. By this point, I love abrasive music and stuff like that, and
yeah.
Death Grips are the kings of abrasive music,
Yeah,
so a
absolutely,
lot of
yeah,
times it's either for you or it isn't, and some people
yeah.
I don't know, like, some people love it, some people don't, but again, Death Grips, I completely understand anyone that would listen to that and be like, "You actually like that
Mhm,
unironically?" Like,
yeah.
I don't know, and that's the beautiful thing about music, it all comes back to that, so
Yeah, it's so true, yeah. Um,
yeah, but I recommend Kiro Kiro Bonito before we move on. They're awesome.
yeah,
I think they only have 3 albums. No, they have 4 albums. I take that back. But their first 3 albums, their self-titled one, their oh my god, why Graduation is their second one,
mm,
and their third one, I'm literally forgetting the name of it right now. I had it hanging up on my vinyl wall just a few days ago, but whatever. Their first 3 albums are absolutely incredible and probably in my top, like all in my top, like, 50 favorite albums of all time. So I highly,
really?
highly
Wow.
recommend.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll have to check them out. I'm curious based on your 5 favorite artists and also your top 10, albums list, do you find that you are kind of in older music more than your newer music? Like, definitely, like, some of the like, the majority of your favorite bands that you have listed here are older bands that would have most of their music done, from 20 and beyond years ago. Do you find that you are a lot of the time in, you know, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s listening to music, or do you feel like you have a pretty good balance of like new and old?
I feel like at this point, I have a good balance, but I feel like I grew up listening to a lot more old music, not
Mm,
being one of the people that was like, no good music is around anymore. But still, I definitely gravitated towards like older, like I said, like 90s music, even
mm,
going older than that, like 80s new wave and like 70s classic rock and stuff like that. But recently, especially with having a TikTok and
yeah,
having to be like cognizant of new releases and stuff a lot of the time. Uh I mean, also though, there are artists like that I've been keeping up with since I was younger. Like Tyler the Creator, hence my name, has been one of
mhm,
my favorite artists for a decade at this point. So it's not
yeah,
like I
yeah,
completely swore off all new music until recently, but
yeah.
I definitely leaned older music until recently. But I'd like to say I have a decent balance by now, thanks
Mm,
to the TikTok and having
yeah.
a yeah, exactly,
Yeah, it kind of forces you to listen more broadly and, like, be more, yeah, I don't know, aware of what's going on because you're kinda like, "Ah, I need some more content, so I guess I'm gonna, like, listen to some
exactly.
of this stuff." Yeah. No, that's awesome. I will, like, so that we can, like, get on some common ground here, um, a little bit, like, obviously, I think we have some overlap with what we enjoy, but, when I was in high school, I was really into, like, the alt rock scene, and I'm sure it's, like, a specific, I don't know, area of that, I don't know, but, one of my favorite bands when I was in high school was Thrice and Manchester Orchestra,
Oh,
um,
cool, cool. That's a band
and,
I've actually never really gotten into, but I'm
yeah.
aware of them, and that's cool. I'll have to check them out more after. Do you have an album specifically that you would recommend or a song?
Um, I really like so when I was in high school, it was their, I'm gonna have to pull it up because I mentioned before we started recording, I'm so bad at
That's
song na at
really fun.
any type of name of any kind. But so when I would have been in high school, their album, it would have been their 2nd album, would have been one that I would listen to all the time. Mean Everything to Nothing was the album. They would have songs on there like Shake It Out, I've Got Friends, Pride. Those are kinda like some of the but, I've really enjoyed actually, I kinda keep up with them probably more than any of these bands that I'm gonna list that I listened to in high school.
Yeah,
They're still fairly active, and I really like what they've kind of adapted to the times a little bit, and then I really like what they're coming out with, but, they put out an album in 2021 called "A Million Masks of God," and I really enjoy that album, and then the one before that, "A Black Mile to the Surface," are both really good. I really enjoyed those. So those 2 bands, I saw on your list here that you have Brand New as one of your favorites, so Brand New was
yeah.
kind of in that scene,
Canceled
like
band, don't I know. I have to be honest with myself because they were literally, like, my favorite band of my teenage
I
years. I
know.
didn't wanna put them on the list because obviously
Yep.
Jesse Lacey, the lead singer, is not a good
Mhm.
human, and I don't like supporting them, but
Yep.
I just had to be honest with myself, and they've been one of the most formative bands in my life, so I have to put them on there, but don't support them, don't buy their music, so
Yeah. No, I totally get that and am in there with you. It's like one of those it's again, it's like you're like, I don't really wanna tell people that I used to listen to them all the
I
time
know.
before anybody knew anything.
I actually
Yeah.
had tickets to see them in, like, I forget what year it was where the news broke. It might have been 2019 or something like that, but I had tickets to see them with Modern Baseball, and
Mm.
the news broke, like, a month before the show, and obviously, they canceled the rest of the shows and
Yeah.
disbanded as a band because Jesse Lacey turned out to be a POS, but,
Mhm.
yeah, it's such a sad situation. I
Yeah,
wish he wasn't the way he is.
I know.
I just can't lie. That album was if you had asked me before that happened, I would have said that was my favorite album of all time. So
Yeah.
I can't lie
No,
to
it's
myself.
huge. It's a amazing album.
I used to want to get the astronaut guy tattooed on me, but I can't really
Really,
do
yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah, no, it's, that probably would be a little too far right now. Are they,
Okay.
like have they come back, like, obviously without him? Because I
It's
thought I
really
saw.
funny that you say that because literally last night, I just saw a video of it. They performed for the first time since whatever year that was with Jesse Lacey. They took him back in the band and they sold out an arena. People are supporting them still. I
What?
don't get it. I
That's
really don't
great.
understand it.
So I had no idea that they just were
Literally
like, "Send
last
us
night was their
back."
first show in like over like a half a decade.
Wha
I know.
Wow. That
Craziness.
I just know, I just saw because I try to keep a tab on who's coming through. I'm in Nashville. I don't know if you knew that or not, but,
Oh, I
um,
didn't know that.
yeah,
Nashville's that's I wanna go really badly. I've never been, but that's one of the
yeah.
places in the US I really wanna be able to check out.
It's a pretty cool city. It's definitely very country forward, but but you get pretty much all you get most of the concerts coming through here, and I just
Yeah.
noticed at a venue that I really enjoy going to that they were playing, and I was like, "What?" Like, I thought these guys were canceled, and
Yeah, yeah. No,
I
it's like the
assumed
first
that
one.
they, like, found somebody to replace him and came back. That's wild to me that
Tell
they're
me
just
about it.
like,
I know.
"Wow, okay, well."
I know. I won't
I
be
was
seeing them.
contemplating going to that concert because I was like, it won't quite be the same if they have a new lead singer, but, like, or whatever. Yeah, yeah, but, like,
I mean, I feel
anyway.
like it looks bad on the rest of the band too, just
Yeah,
being willing to take them back and be
I
like,
know.
"Yeah, nothing happened. Let's perform again. Let's
Yeah,
like I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
the ins and outs of it, but still, it
yeah.
just gives you a sour taste in your mouth, and I'm not gonna be seeing them, so
Yeah, yeah, it does for sure. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, going back
awesome
to the
album
list.
either way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree, and I don't know actually if it's Deja Entendu. I don't know if I actually even said the album, so if people are
Dude,
listening,
it
they're
it
like,
was
"What
probably
album are
my
you talking
favorite
about?"
album. I don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce it. I think that's the correct way.
Yeah, I just assume that's how I'm originally from Canada, so I have a little
Oh,
bit of a French background, so
nice.
I just kinda take the French because I
Yeah,
feel like that's how it's supposed to be, but I don't know. That's how I pronounce it, and I haven't
yeah.
heard otherwise. But so them, another band that I would have listened to a lot would have been, Circus Survive. They're like a
Oh,
little
yeah, I know
yeah.
Circus Survive.
Um,
They weren't one of my favorites or anything, but I did like them, and I mean, that's all, like, Warped Tour centric type bands, and I went to Warped Tour 2015 through 2018. That was, like,
okay. Yeah,
some I was so into, like, that type of music. Like, my
yeah.
favorites were, like, Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens,
Yes.
it's some of the heavier bands too, like
Mhm.
Wage War and, like, Silent Planet, if you know who either of those are.
Mm.
Trying to remember, Mayday Parade. I literally
Yeah,
almost thought
Mayday
of
Parade.
putting a Mayday Parade album on my top 10 albums because they're just so nostalgic to me.
Yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
but yeah, Warped Tour, I was there every summer. I love
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Warped Tour was huge for getting kind of those alt genres out to
100%,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, there's is huge. Another band is 4 Year Strong. I don't know if that
Okay, that's one that I really messed with.
Yeah,
I 4 Years Strong was awesome. I actually never saw them, but, they were really similar to A Day to Remember. They made, like, the
yeah,
similar, like, easy core, I've heard it called, like
yeah,
and I was really into that type of music in around that time, like 2016, 2017.
yeah.
It must really suck to be 4 Years Strong right now. Isn't that the song? That's one of my favorite songs by them. It's funny.
Yeah, yeah, that is
Yeah, they're a cool band.
that whole album, Enemy of the World
Yeah.
album was just so fun. Yeah, I like that, what'd you call it? Easy core?
Yeah, I've heard it
I like that
called
genre.
that before. I like that term too. It's
I
funny.
just kinda called it I didn't know what it was, I just kinda called it, like, happy metal or, like, happy
Yeah, yeah.
screamo, but, like, yeah, that easy core is I like that genre name, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so those are and I guess another big one would have been Me Without You, I was, like, really
I
into Me
actually
Without
am
You.
not familiar with them. No, I don't know them.
They're a really interesting band. I think, I don't think they're doing anything at all anymore.
Okay.
It's like the lead singer guy, it's like spoken word, sort of.
Like
So
La
he
Dispute. Have you ever listened to La Dispute?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh,
Mm.
okay, because they do a similar spoken word, like, emo type thing that I was
Yeah, it's
obsessed with.
yeah, well, if you like that, if that's kinda what it is,
Okay.
their instrumentation is real like, I love their band. Like, obviously, I enjoyed what he did as well, but, like, it was just kind of a weird band to me because I wasn't really familiar with that type of scene where it was like, everything they're playing music like this is a normal band and somebody's gonna be singing, but he's just
Yeah,
he's doing spoken word. He does do a little bit of like melodic stuff as well. It's not just
that's cool.
strictly like spoken word stuff, but
Yeah,
yeah, they were like a really cool band that I so that's kind of like the core of like there were some other like fringe like He Is Legend, like, that I
yeah,
would
he
kinda
is
dabble
legends.
in. That
I love the, like, late 2000s, like, MySpace, like, metalcore type music
yeah.
like that, like, I don't know, I'm really into that, like, I mean, I set my friends on fire and, like, I wrestled a bear once on vinyl
Mm.
and stuff like that,
Nice,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
still like that type of music, however cringy it is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it was like an interesting time period for me. I was really like into a lot of that stuff and then kind of into college is when I don't know if like in my mind I just was like I need I need less angst or something, but I kind of went from there. I always listened to folk, but I went from there from like really being in that kind of alt scene and just loving like I just loved bands. I just enjoyed the instrumentation, the roughness, the energy, all that stuff, and then all of a sudden I was like, "I love folk," and, like, that's what I'm gonna listen to now, and, like, I
No,
went from
hell yeah,
that
that's cool.
to, like, Mumford& and Sons, like, just total opposite, like, just,
Yeah.
like, kinda knee slapping happy folk, like,
Mhm.
and so it was, like, a really weird transition, but, yeah, those bands were a lot of fun to me. I do really look back on that time with, like, nostalgia and, like, think, like, "Man, this was a lot of fun."
Mhm.
Um, and it's funny because, like, some of these, like, bands like Queens of the Stone Age and, like, The Cure, those are bands that I probably didn't really listen to until, like, the last, like, 5 to 7 years. As I got more into music and more like, I should probably investigate, like, some of these bands that I know there's a lot of, like, value and, like, cultural impact around
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
just didn't pay attention to at all, like, and, like, even, like, Nirvana and Radiohead, like, these bands that everybody talks about, and, like, some people are so, like, "If Radiohead wasn't around, like, music wouldn't be the same today," and I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And so, it is funny how you kind of, like, listen to some of that stuff far removed from those moments. It's hard to anyway. But yeah, so that's kind of maybe a little bit of like where I dabbled pretty organically with kind of that alt genre. And still like I still do enjoy listening to rock and alt and it depends on the metal. Some metal I can handle, some I'm like it's a little much for me, but like
Mhm.
yeah, I've had friends that were like metal heads and I would be like, "Yeah, I can get into this," and then they'd show me and they'd be like, "Well, if you like this band, you'd like these guys," and then they'd show me and
Yeah.
I'd be like, "No, I do not. Like, I do not like this." And I don't know what it is, like, it's funny how just sometimes your ears are like, "No, I don't like this," or maybe you're like, I don't know, maybe it's a mind thing, maybe it's a and then like you said, with, like, death grips, like, then you are in a different time in your life, you come back to it and you're like, "Oh, I get this now." Like, I kinda enjoy
Exactly.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, with metal, like, I don't know, I grew up, like, liking, like, new metal and, like, stuff like that, like Slipknot and, like, Korn and Limp Bizkit and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I don't know, I feel like the last 5 years or maybe not 5 years, maybe, like, 3 years, as I've gotten, like, way more, like, diving my head deep into, like, into music, kinda just all genres, I've kinda gotten into more, like, I don't wanna sound pretentious, but, like, extreme sides of, like, music and, like,
Mhm.
metal-wise, I've gotten into heavier stuff, but also the same thing with, like, rap-wise and also with especially, like, electronic-wise. Like, I
Yeah.
love, like, breakcore music now and, like, really, like, stuff that'll pound your head into the wall. Like, I don't know, abrasiveness can go through any genre, and I don't know,
Yeah.
I think I just like hearing so many noises that it doesn't allow my brain to think, to be honest. I
Mhm.
think that's what the bottom line is, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there's so much music out there to love, and at this point, like, I can't show my girlfriend any of that music because she, like, doesn't like it anymore. I know
Yeah.
it's not people don't like it. I don't even know if it's good music. I'm questioning my own taste, but hey, it makes me happy, so I enjoy it.
Yeah, totally. Um, what would you say, like, if somebody was like, "Hey, I kinda like metal, but, like, I don't know where to start." Like, where would you, like, point somebody? Maybe some albums, maybe some
Yeah, yeah.
bands?
Uh, I mean, there's so many different directions you could go. That's one of the beautiful things about metal. Like, there's like so many subgenres within metal that aren't just like nitpicky, like subgenres like, oh, this one is just a little different than this one.
Yeah.
Like, if you compare, like, thrash metal and, like, black metal, for example, like, those are entirely different things that fall under the same umbrella,
Mhm.
and, like, there's so many different subgenres, so it depends what you really wanted to get into, but, I mean, overall, I mean, you could say Metallica. I love Metallica, I'm not talking crap on Metallica, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend them at this point, everyone's
Yeah.
heard them. But, I don't know. I think to introduce people to like a bit more of the heavier side of things with still having like the beauty of like just musicality, and I think anybody could appreciate it, is a band that actually I almost put in my top 5 bands, Deaf Heaven. Have you ever heard of Deaf Heaven?
Yeah, I have, yeah. I haven't
Yeah.
listened to a lot of their stuff, but I've definitely heard their name
They're
often.
phenomenal.
Uh,
They, like, combine, like, black metal, some shoegaze music,
mm,
some ambient music, some, I don't even know, like, just absolutely beautiful and lushness that will be met on the other side with, like, absolute terror and abrasiveness, and they
mm,
bring it together in this, like, I don't know, this dichotomy that is just so unique and so cool that I think really can help open like, I don't know. They got clowned on. A little bit of history about Deaf Heaven. They have an album from I want to say 2012. It's their biggest album called Sunbather, and they were getting clowned on at the time by like metalheads because it was like too soft for like the
mm.
metalheads and stuff like that. But it was blowing up on like Pitchfork and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Pitchfork gave it like a 9.5 or something,
Wow.
and like people were loving it. Non-metalheads were loving it so much so that the metalheads started clowning this album, saying it wasn't
Mhm,
extreme enough. But at this point, after like that edge lord behavior passed, like it everyone can look at that album and just appreciate it for its beauty, its heaviness, but also its accessibility. And that's where I'd start. I'm sorry, I talk so much, but yeah,
hey, no,
that
this
would
is
be my
great.
answer.
Yeah. No, I love
Sunbather
that.
by Death Heaven would be my answer.
Okay, that's a good one. I it makes me wanna listen to it. I think that
It's really cool too because it has a pink cover with just, like, the words typed on it, and that's really, different than a lot of, like, metal
mm,
covers as well. It's not like I don't know, name another, like, pink metal cover. I love metal, and I listen to it all the time, and I don't even know if I can. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's just
and
cool. They're a cool band.
metal
I
a
saw them
lot.
last year. I'm gonna see them again in a few months, and they're phenomenal. They're awesome,
That's
so
awesome. Yeah, metal like, when you're talking about metal covers, like, the typical one is just, like, some, like, Armageddon.
Sure, like,
Yeah, or,
Skull.
some, like, Armageddon scene, like, it's
Yeah,
just,
something
like
on fire.
yeah, you're like so that definitely is very different from what people
Yeah.
would normally see as a metal title. That's really funny. Yeah, I think that sounds like a great recommendation to me. I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
think you'd really appreciate it.
yeah, totally. Let's talk about The Cure a little bit because you obviously love The Cure, and,
Yeah.
they've been around for a long time and have just last year released a new album. So, yeah, maybe talk a little bit about, like, why you love The Cure so much, go anywhere with that, and then let's kinda end with your thoughts on their new album.
The Cure is probably I always go back and forth on, like, ranking my favorites and everything, but
Mm,
they're my favorite band of all time. I grew up on them, like, my, dad is a huge Cure fan, and he was always
mm,
playing them for me, like, as young as, like, 10 years old and stuff like that. I was singing, like, "Friday I'm in Love" and "Boys Don't Cry" and stuff like
mm,
that when I was in the car, and they always just, like I don't know, I feel like, by the time I actually started getting into music and, like, searching out new music on my own, I kinda always just knew those songs by The Cure and loved them, so they were, like, obviously a natural spark starting point for me,
mm,
and I loved them, like, when I was in middle school, when I was even in I wasn't into anything else that was that type of music, like, I was into, like, emo Warped Tour music and then The Cure, like, it didn't really make
yeah,
sense, they were like an
yeah, yeah,
outlier, but,
yeah,
and then, like, the '90s alternative stuff I really got into too, and The Cure didn't fit in there either, but The Cure's just always been there for me as one of my favorite bands, and, I mean, my favorite band at this point. I had the chance to see them, a little over a year ago as well, actually before they released their last album, so,
okay,
I didn't get to see any of the new songs, but, I mean, still, it was the first time, they performed in over, like, a decade, I wanna say,
mm,
and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Robert Smith, the lead singer, he not trying to hate, he does not look very good, but his voice sounds,
yeah,
incredible,
mm,
exactly like it did in 1982, in 19 like, whatever, and it was just one of the most, like, incredible experiences ever,
mm,
and, last thing I'll say is that they just when people hear The Cure, a lot of the times they think, like, sad, goth, like, that type of music, which they do, and they absolutely mastered that type of music with some of their most popular stuff, but also, like they can do so much other stuff as well, and they're such a versatile band.
Mm,
Uh, if you've never listened to The Cure, and for someone that, like, is a fan of pop music and stuff like that, I would really recommend their album, The Head on the Door from, I wanna say 1985. That, like, obviously, they always had depressing subject matter in their
yeah,
songs,
yeah,
but there's so many straight up pop bangers on that album, or even the album Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me from a few years later. Like, they just can do everything and can do
mhm,
no wrong in my book, and, I don't know, I, like, smile ear to ear just, like, thinking about The Cure, and they're
yeah,
my favorite band,
yeah.
so
Yeah, I really enjoy, um, a lot of their kind of early stuff there. I can't even think I think that that first album that you just mentioned, not the
The
Kiss
Head on
Me.
the Door.
Yeah, 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 I'm pretty sure that's the one. I listened to Disintegration a lot, which you have on the
That's
list.
probably my favorite album by them, and it's
Yeah,
known as, like, their magnum opus. I mean,
yeah,
rightfully so, but I think they have multiple magnum opuses if you ask me, but
yeah. For whatever reason, though, I do think that, um from just me listening to, like, some of the songs that I really appreciate from them, I spent more time in that album, uh, than Disintegration, even though I would probably say that I'd rather like, I prefer Disintegration, but I don't know, like, sometimes re-listenability is you know what I mean? Like, sometimes some of those hits are in different albums, but, yeah, The Cure is one of those bands that I don't even know how I started listening to them. Like,
it's just
it's
like you've always known it. You kinda are
yeah,
born knowing a few songs by The Cure.
yeah, and, I did, like, I did kind of there's some of those bands where you're like you have a history with them, you're not like for me, you're not, like, a super fan of them. But, like, whenever you hear their name, if it's like a new album's coming out, you're like, "Whoa, like, that's really cool." The Cure was that. When I heard that they had a new album coming out in 2024, I was like, "What?" Like, in
I
my
know.
like, it's one of those things, like, it's almost like in my mind, they were dead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's I was
Yeah.
so, like, removed from listening to a lot of their stuff. Well, and at least, like, keeping up with them in the present. Like, I don't know, there's just certain bands that, like, it's almost like you're like, "Yeah, like, they don't operate anymore." Like, even though it's, like,
Yeah.
it's totally realistic that they would, but, yeah, when I saw that they had this album coming out, I was like, "Whoa, like, this seems like a huge deal." And I had to
I
kinda do
know,
some
so much so
digging.
that I was a bit nervous when I heard the announcement of a new album
Yeah.
after so much time. I was like, "Please, please, please don't tarnish your legacy with whatever you do."
Mhm, mhm,
And I'm glad to say they didn't. But with what I just said about, like, them being so versatile and being
mhm.
amazing at pop as well, that their most recent album from last year does not have a lick of pop on it. It is their
Yeah,
most
I know.
depressing album they've ever came out with,
Yeah,
and it is tough to get through.
yeah.
I still tear up almost every listen on the last song, end song. Like, the whole album deals with, like, loss and death and, like,
Mhm.
just reflecting on life and regrets and everything, and I don't know, it's a tough listen. I definitely don't listen to it as much as
Yeah.
a lot of their other albums, but it's one of their most impactful, I'll say that, and I was not disappointed as, like, a diehard Cure fan, not in the
Mhm.
slightest, so, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like a best case scenario for when you are a diehard fan of a band, like, especially when you hear like, an example would be like when the Stones just put out, like, a new album. It's like, "Whoa, like, what is this?" Like, I
Yeah.
actually thought they were dead, like, they like,
I
that's
think,
crazy.
1 or 2 of them are.
So it's one of those things where when you're a lifelong fan of a band and then this announcement comes, yeah, you do get nervous,
Yeah.
especially when you kinda know, like, they're kinda out of their prime, or at least I feel like they are because they haven't
They
been
were, I
doing
thought
stuff.
they were.
Yeah,
Their last, like, amazing album, in my opinion, was back in the '90s. They had a
yeah,
few albums in the 2000s, one in, like, 2011 or something, and I thought all of those were, like, decent, not
Yeah.
bad, not to tarnish, not like it was terrible or anything, but
Mhm.
just not great. It wasn't the caliber of what they used to do, and I'm happy to say this one was a return to form in my opinion, so
Mhm. Yeah. No, that's amazing, really, and, like, Radiohead fans right now are kind of going through it because I don't know if you saw the news that, like, the members of Radiohead opened up an LLP, which basically implies that something is coming. It's like
Oh,
basically, they
really?
opened up like a business so that, you know, either they're going on tour, they're re-releasing
Interesting.
something,
I didn't
and
know that.
best case scenario for fans is they're releasing a new album, or maybe worst case scenario for fans, I don't know. It is one of those things where you're like, "Whoa," like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, okay, so you're releasing a new album. Uh-oh, maybe." Like, yeah,
Last rumor I heard about about Radiohead was that Tom York was, like, putting way more effort towards his other band. I didn't even know if Radiohead was gonna come back again for another album. The
yeah,
Smile, did you listen to
The
his
Smile.
other project? They're pretty
Yeah,
good too. I like Radiohead more, but that was a decent album from last year.
yeah, I like The Smile stuff. It's, you kinda have to, like, even though it's almost Radiohead because it's it's him and Johnny Greenwood and just, like, a
Yeah,
new drummer,
how
it's
different can it be?
basically it's, like, basically Radiohead. You do kinda have to, like, be like, "This isn't Radiohead." I don't know. It's a kind of a weird thing, but, like, if you take them for what they are by themselves, like, I enjoy what they did.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Yeah,
definitely
he's a super
still
talented, both of them are
yeah,
super talented
yeah.
individuals. It's hard to make bad music when you're that talented and that
It's
creative, so
true, it's true. Well, and especially where, like, both of them are, like, now, like, heavy into, like, movie scores and stuff like that. Like, clearly, they're still, like, practicing their trade very
Mhm.
intensely. It's just focused in a different area, so, um,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, there's a lot, like, I think a lot of stuff is going through the minds of really diehard Radiohead fans, so we'll have to, keep our thoughts with them because they're either something could be really disappointing, like, maybe they just, like, wanna resell a vinyl or something, like, you know what I
Yeah, if it's
mean?
something like that, people are gonna be so pissed off. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine.
Or, and I would love if they went on tour again, like, because 'cause I've never seen them, I'd love to see them, and who
I
knows
can't
if
even
that would ever
imagine how
happen.
much the tickets would be nowadays, though.
Oh,
I feel like
crazy, astronomical for
yeah.
sure, yeah. Yeah, it is wild. Um, yeah, but, so it's good to know though that you really enjoyed this new album. I enjoyed it, and I'm more of a casual Cure fan. I'm not a diehard, but it is good to know when you have something kinda resonate, and then the people that are, like, diehard followers of this band are like, "Yeah, it was really good." I agree, it was really it was really, like, tough to listen to, but yeah, super heavy, but, like,
Yeah,
yeah, there's a time and place for that stuff, right? Like, it's not
exactly,
it's not like you're gonna be, like, replaying this over and over, like, in the car and, like, jamming out to it, like, that's not what this album's intention was, I'm sure, but
exactly.
it's like you listen to it and you're like, this is, like, phenomenal, this is, like, true art, right? Like, they clearly are, um really just trying to create something that's meaningful to them and hopefully
Exactly.
meaningful to the listeners, and I think that they did, provide in that
Yeah,
in
it's a
that
great way
sense.
to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, and, LCD Sound System's another one, and this is, like, such a funny, like, to go from The Cure to LCD Sound System. It's like there is some, maybe some crossover there, like you said,
There
like,
is a little bit. Yeah,
The
yeah.
Cure does have some,
They
like, pop
definitely
stuff.
I feel like LCD would call Robert and The Cure a big inspiration of theirs, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, but, like, LCD is a band that is, like, so interesting to me. Like, the cult following that they had, how they influence people, like, how it's kind of like they're kind of in this really like, this niche, like, it's like it is pop, it is dance, but it's like, I don't know, it's like kind of a smart version of that, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's mainstream, like, it's just such a it's hard for me to wrap my head around how LCD Sound System is as big as they are. Like, to me, I feel like they shouldn't be that big, but I think people really appreciate their sound, and
If
then
they were still like, I don't know if they woulda had the cultural impact in the year 2025. I don't think that sound really
Mhm.
I don't know, I think it hit that sweet spot, like, in,
It's
like,
yeah.
2005 to, like, 2012 when they really were, at the height of their popularity, that was, like, the Facebook, Tumblr, MySpace, like,
Mhm.
indie sleaze era
Yeah. Mhm.
where there were even other bands that were doing similar stuff at that time, like, Broken Bells or, like, Hot Chip,
Mhm.
trying to think who else, like, Sleigh Bells even was doing some of that, and I don't know, I think I love that type of music, like, I'm not trying to talk crap on that time period,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think it really like, even early The Neighborhood, like, was
Mhm.
really, like I don't think they would have popped off the way they did with the type of music that they made if they weren't coming out in 2010 when it was, like, the height of this era. 303 even, like, that's another example of a band that would never have gotten big if it wasn't for the time period they were in.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like LCD is just maybe the most mature and most, like, actually artistically,
Yeah.
like, out of those bands, and that's why they have this cult following, but I I don't know. I think their music does stand up, like, past that time period. I'm not trying to say it doesn't, but
Mhm.
they do have a lot of hits that are just straight up, like, club bangers, but then you
Yeah.
listen to a song like New York, I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down, or, like, Is Someone Great, like,
Mm.
they have songs that genuinely I would say are some of the best written songs I've ever heard in my life, and they don't have an electronic sound on the entire, like, 5-minute recording of the song, it's just a straight up, like, I don't know, like acoustic or something else. Not really acoustic, but like you know what I mean, just like a metronome or like something in
Mhm.
the background, like very minimal piano, for an example. But yeah, they just again with the Cure, very versatile. I think I
Mhm.
love that just like pop leaning, electronic leaning, alternative sound, hence the Cure and
Mhm.
LCD. But uh, yeah, they're just such a cool band, and I've never had a chance to see them live, but they're like number 1 on my bucket list,
Yeah.
of concerts, so
Yeah, well, and I think that's also where they get this, like, kind of reputation too, is they're just known to be like, people swear that they're the best live concert you could go to,
Mhm.
and so
I've
they
watched a
it
lot of videos, I need to see it in
yeah,
person.
yeah, like, there's certain bands that carry this reputation for live concerts. LCD Sound System seems to be one of those, like, the OG of that is, like, the Grateful Dead, like, people
Yeah.
would literally follow them around everywhere because
Yeah.
every concert was different, and then you have, like, the Frat Boys, Dave Matthews Band that kind of tried to carry that forward, but, like, they're great performers live, so and, yeah, LCD, like, just with their desire to like find the best synths and like actually like be like have these sounds like everything's analog for them, you know what I mean? Like it's different than going to like a Daft Punk concert where it's just like even though they're amazing, but it's just them two like basically DJing the whole time,
Yeah.
like LCD Sound System, there's these people like sitting over these like crazy synths and they're like trying to dig these sounds out of them. It's just it's a cool it I haven't seen them either and I'd love to. Who knows if they're ever gonna be doing anything research
I
wise.
know. They featured on a song last year on
Yeah,
a
and
Idol song,
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know if there's gonna be a new album coming anytime soon, but
yeah, yeah. It's one of those things that you just never know, and you hope they would be another band that if they came out with a new album, you'd be like
be scared.
yeah, you'd be like, "Uh-oh, is this gonna be good or is this gonna be bad?" Yeah, totally. Well, let's jump into, like, let's talk about LCD Sound System a little bit, but could you give me your 5 favorite songs by them?
Yeah, yeah. I would say Someone Great is definitely in my top 5.
Yeah, huge song.
I would say Daft Punk is playing at my house. I'm not
Mhm.
just saying that because you just mentioned Daft Punk. That
Yeah.
might be my favorite song by them. Uh, I would say Wanted a Hit. That is an
Mhm. Okay.
absolutely incredible song.
Mm.
There's so many. Maybe One Touch.
Yep.
I don't know. I wanna say there's so many. I don't know what I wanna put for the last one. Maybe I'll say North American Scum. No,
Yeah.
actually, no, I take that back. I wanna put no, yeah, I'll do North American Scum, actually,
Mm.
yeah. I That was the first song I ever heard by them that
Really?
kind of
Okay.
I didn't even know I was a fan of them for a while because one of my
Mhm.
favorite movies of all time is Step Brothers, and North American Scum plays in the
Yeah, yeah.
scene where Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly meet each other in the front yard,
I
and I always
totally
loved that
forgot that
song.
yeah, I totally
Yeah.
forgot that that was that yeah, but you're right, that's so funny.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
that then, like, maybe, I don't know, 5, 7 years later when I really got into them, I was like, "No way,
Yeah,
that's the
that's so
song."
that's so funny. I totally forgot. Yeah, I remember when I saw that movie being like, "Oh, yeah." Like, I've kind of always been, like, a sort of a passive-ish fan of LCD Sound System once they started, like, getting big, so, yeah, that's a good list. Like, Daft Punk is Playing in My House is such a classic. Like,
Yeah,
that
it's
really
incredible.
is, like, if a I don't know, you get, like, the people that and especially some of, like, the younger people that are getting into LCD sound system, they might give you a hard time for putting that on your list just because they're like, "Oh, like, you don't really listen to them, like, that's just their big hit." But, like, you can't
It's so
deny that
good.
that's just one of their best songs, like,
It
it's
is.
so good. It's so good. What about The Cure? Do you have a 5 best songs for The Cure?
Yeah. My favorite song by The Cure is 100 Years. It's a super dark, spooky song. It's the first song on the album Pornography, which is my favorite Cure album. I've said before that Disintegration is my favorite Cure album, which I think is probably their best album.
Mm,
Disintegration is, but my favorite would have to be Pornography. But
okay, yeah.
my 100 Years is my favorite Cure song.
Mm,
Number two would Number 2 would probably be Lullaby. Lullaby is so haunting, so
mm,
incredible. Um, Number 3 would probably no, it wouldn't be Boys Don't Cry. I don't actually know if that would make my top 5. Um, Close to Me would probably be number 3. 4 would probably be Plain Song,
mhm.
and then I do Why Can't I Be You. That's their most underrated song in my opinion. That song is absolutely incredible. It has this horn in it that is absolutely infectious. It'll make anybody dance.
What
I
a
love that song.
I'm not familiar with that song, and that just it might not be that I actually haven't heard it, it might just be that I just can't think of that name, but what album's that off?
Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. It is
Okay,
such a good song. It
okay.
is so fun.
I'll have to go back and listen to that because, I it's not ringing a bell as to what that song is, but that's a good list.
Actually, take out Plain Song, put in A Forest. I
Okay,
absolutely love that song. Keep Why
okay,
Can't I Be You. But yeah,
yeah,
that's my top 5, top 6 if you wanna count.
tops
Yeah.
yeah, okay. We'll put in a bonus there.
Bonus, yeah, exactly.
And so what about let's do Led Zeppelin. Give us your 5 favorite Led Zeppelin songs.
Dazed and Confused is my favorite Led Zeppelin song, which
Mhm.
is one of their hits, I know, but it's an absolutely incredible song.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah.
It is so I don't even know how to describe that song. It just, like, hits different. Every
Mhm,
time it comes on, have to stop what I'm listening to or stop what I'm doing and, like, just give that song my full attention and just
yeah,
listen to Robert croon over the freaking verses before that haunting ass chorus comes in.
mhm,
Excuse me for cursing, I didn't mean to curse there, but, it is just such a good song. Number 2, Misty Mountain Hop has always been one of my favorites. That one is such a fun song. Uh, When the Levee Breaks would probably be number 3. That song is so amazing.
mhm.
Um, hmm, 4 and 5 is where it gets a little interesting.
Yeah,
Custard
there's
Pie would have to be one of those. I love custard pie. And number 5. Oh, I gotta throw Stairway in my top 5. Stairway has to be number
it's
5, yeah.
it's
It's one
just
of the best
classic.
songs ever written. It might not
Yeah,
be my personal Led Zeppelin favorite song, but
yeah,
it's one of the best songs ever. So, yeah,
yeah, you gotta throw it
Stairway.
in. You gotta
Yeah,
throw it in.
that would've been a sin if I didn't put that in my top
Yeah,
5.
totally. Maybe to wrap up talking about some favorite new finds or favorite albums of 2025 so far, I'd love to hear what those are for you. Some new finds,
Yeah,
some good
yeah.
albums in 2025.
I'm gonna need to check my phone a little bit for those, but one I'll
That's
tell
fine.
you off the top of my head, I know you already talked about this one on your last podcast, but I love the new Cardi album. I
Yeah.
genuinely do. I
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I like it's weird because I'm not really a fan of like rage music or like
Mhm.
that side of like of hip hop really, but I don't know, there's something about Cardi and it's weird too because I'm not a big fan of Die Lit or Playboy Cardi's first album, but I like it when he gets more aggressive, like on Whole
Mhm.
Lotta Red, and he
Sure.
did that a lot on this album too, and
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know, I love it, I literally love it, and I've seen so many people clown on it, I've
Yeah.
seen so many people say there's, like, only a few songs to keep out of the 30. I
Yeah.
genuinely think there may be, like, 1 or 2 skips on that, and I don't care if that makes me like a 15-year-old high school, like, kid, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it is good. I don't know.
Yeah. No, so you would definitely think that he provided after that 5-year wait or 6-year wait or however long it
5
was.
years is a long time, don't get
It
me
is.
wrong, but for like, I'd normally complain about a 30-song album, but, like, after
Yeah.
5 years, give me 30 songs,
Yeah.
especially if they're gonna all be g most be good, in my opinion, at least. I
Yeah.
don't know, it's just so infectious. He just has an energy on the mic that, like,
Mm.
is different to anybody, and he this album was full of so many funny one-liners too, in my opinion. Like, I
Yeah.
just love, like, what he brings to a track. The features were pretty good too. There were some features that I thought were very underwhelming, but,
Mm.
there were some pretty good features on it as well.
Yeah.
I think I like Whole Lotta Red more, but I did really enjoy that album.
Yeah. Well,
Uh
that's good. I enjoyed it too. I thought it was good. I think it's like it's hard to I'm not gonna rehash this, but it's hard to meet expectations when you leave people waiting for so long for something that's so highly anticipated, but I think overall, like, I felt like it was yeah, like, for 30 tracks, like, usually, like, it's like, "Whoa, this is so bloated," like, take out 15 and this would have been a good album, but it's like, no, like, it felt some of that is the average length of the tracks are usually just, like, a couple minutes, so that helps that you're not, like it's not like a 30-track album that's 2 hours long, it's still, like, fairly short full runtime, but yeah, it seemed like to me, I enjoyed it. I really can't, like, put my finger on, like, there's no song that I'm like, "Yeah, that one was horrible," like, or "I didn't like that." Like, there were a couple that I would maybe skip, but, like, there weren't any that I thought were, like, not great at all or, like, total misses.
Agree, and my biggest complaint is just that the first listen through, I literally thought Future was featured on, like, 15 of the songs, but then I realized it was just Cardi doing a Future thing on, like,
Yeah.
13 of those 15
It's
songs,
so true,
and I
yeah.
was like, "He sounds good, but, like, is this not completely ripping him off?" And, like,
Mm,
I still don't know what the answer to that is, but hey, it
yeah.
sounds good, so whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if Future files a lawsuit,
Hey,
that'll be the
Future was
answer.
on the album at least a few times, so he clearly doesn't have a
It's true,
problem with
yeah,
it,
he
so
doesn't have any
I can't
problem,
have a
yeah.
problem with it if Future doesn't.
It's true. It's so true. My only problem with it is that it was 30 songs long, and then he released the deluxe, and he only added 4 more songs, like, come on,
I
I
know.
was
Why not
thinking he
just
was
make it
gonna put
34?
another 10 or, like
I
or,
know.
like or at
That is
least, like,
true.
do, like, 25 songs on the main
Yeah.
album and 10 on the deluxe, but anyway, yeah. Anything else from 2025 so far that you're
Yeah, I'll just give a few quick shout outs. I mean, the new FK Twigs album is really cool.
yeah.
My girlfriend, actually, I'll give her credit for putting me onto that. That album is
Okay,
really,
cool,
really
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
I've like dabbled it with FK Twigs music in the past, but I've never
mhm,
been like a huge fan or anything. But everything I've heard, I've listened to it a few times with her, and it's impressed me. This album, it's really good.
mm,
I would say also, off the top of my head, I know I'm missing some big ones, but there's this electronic group called Giant Claw, and they came out
mm,
with an album last month, maybe 2 months ago, that's really, really cool, really, really, like, trippy sounding, really, really
mm,
abrasive at times, but also beautiful at times, and I've been messing with them for a few years, and they really impressed me with that album. And off the top of my head, last one I'll say, really small band, but like, metal, MySpace metalcore music we were talking about earlier a little bit
yeah,
with, like, Circa Survive, it's very akin to that, uh, the band's called Katie Went Missing, and it's their
Oh,
self-titled album, and it's really, really cool. It actually just came out, like, 3 days ago, but yeah,
really?
it's really
Okay.
cool. So,
I'll have to
I
check
those
that
are the
out.
ones I can think of off the top of my head. I know I'm missing, like, a big release that came out, but that's some of the stuff I've been messing with,
Mhm.
so
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's great. Well, I also appreciate you coming on the podcast. This has been a lot of fun. Just talking about all this kind of for me getting into a different space, a different world. Uh, so it's been a lot of fun just kind of picking your brain on some of this alt rock metal stuff because yeah, I'm not super familiar with it, but yeah, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun talking to you, for
Yeah,
a while.
yeah. Well, and if any of you guys want to check out Ty, he's on TikTok as Ty the Creator. Are you on like Instagram or anything like that, or is it mostly just TikTok?
Right now, I'm just on TikTok.
Yeah,
I might
oh, that's
try
cool.
to branch out to some other areas, so stay
Hey,
tuned, but not at the moment.
it's a lot of work, so it's totally fine to just stay on one platform. But yeah, go check him out on TikTok. Follow him. He's got some really cool stuff that he's been doing. So, yeah, stay tuned for another episode next week. We'll have another guest on, and we'll catch you later.